This was the start of Operation Absolute Resolve. U.S. strikes hit military bases in Caracas. Then, covert units go after the main prize. Venezuela's president, Nicolás Maduro, and his wife, Celia Flores, who are now in custody in New York.
Happy New Year.
President Trump made it clear who was now in charge.
Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly.
And he put Venezuela's vast oil reserves front and center.
We'll have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela, and the biggest beneficiary are going to be the people of Venezuela.
It's impossible to overstate how extraordinary events are in Venezuela. I'm Venezuelan, but it's risky for international media to operate there. Reporters are routinely arrested or deported. So from my base here in London, we're working with a team on the ground. Hola, Ana. Wow, I've seen the news. This is huge.
It feels like, again, people are free to speak out, but we need to be careful. We're trying not to get arrested for reporting, right?
Right.
We're going to show you how people in Venezuela are reacting. Ask whether Trump's promised oil revival will reshape the country's future, and question what role Venezuela will play at a time of turmoil in global oil. In downtown Caracas, Maduro's image looms large. Pro-government billboards demand his return. But he's not missed by everyone.
Se llevaron al presidente, el que manda todo esto. ¿Sí entiende? Y yo no veo lloro aquí dentro. No veo nada y lloro, nada, nada.
The question is, how much has changed?
Hi, Anna, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi.
Okay, so how's it been going? Does it feel like a particularly uncertain time?
The truth is that from outside, it looks like things have changed, but really, that's just a couple of actors change and the economy for sure. But the reality is still the same, so we need to be careful. Not everyone wants to be on camera, but it's not something that is impossible.
Nearly 8 million Venezuelans have left the country since 2014. Those who stayed behind lived through years of repressive rule.
Este gobierno nos ha maltratado a todos, física, moral, espiritual.
Venezuela has seen one of the most dramatic economic collapses in modern history outside of wartime, thanks to poor governance, corruption, and punitive U.S. sanctions. Inflation is sky high, and nearly 90% of Venezuelans live in poverty.
Con el sueldo que tengo aquí, aunque trabajo por mi cuenta, pero no me alcanza, pues. Sí, sí me alcanza para comer de vez en cuando, pues, pero no todo el tiempo.
Más que todo para mi hijo, pues, que ya tengo un hijo. Me gustaría que todo se acomodara como para que tuviera buena educación, todo, tuviera mejor vida. O sea, todo lo que todos queremos, pues.
Now, the Trump administration is effectively controlling the country's economy, overseeing how the government spends its oil revenue.
Hello, Sandra.
Hola, Phil. Hi.
Phil Gunson has been following the U.S.'s moves. He works at the International Crisis Group and has lived in Venezuela for 27 years.
This is an unprecedented situation. I mean, here you've got the United States trying or attempting to dictate what happens here within Venezuela politically and economically from a distance without occupying the country. Of course, the U.S. historically has intervened a lot in Latin America, but generally speaking, you know, it has intervened with an actual military presence. And to do this from a distance is most peculiar. And so everybody, I think, is watching with bated breath. And it's by no means certain how this is going to turn out. As I say, every day is different. Every day brings new complications.
With Maduro facing narco-terrorism charges in the U.S., Washington endorsed Delcy Rodriguez as the country's new leader.
Vengo con dolor, pero debo decir que vengo también con honor.
She was Maduro's vice president. Right now, she's the one in charge, at least on paper.
You know, the US has taken charge of Venezuela's external accounts. They're selling Venezuelan oil, and they're sending the money to Venezuela under certain guidelines, within certain parameters. And that money that's already started to arrive has had a stabilizing effect on the exchange rate. That will dramatically change the situation.
I don't think we can get super close to the oil facilities, but if you want to understand Venezuela's oil story, the place to go definitely is Lake Maracaibo.
Venezuela has the largest known reserves of oil in the world, more than 300 billion barrels. There's a huge oil basin under these waters at Lake Maracaibo. The fishermen here have a front row seat to what goes on in the oil industry. They've noticed the main loading point for oil tankers is busier than usual.
Los barcos que ahora hay de más. Antes llegaba uno por uno, ahora hay a cuatro. Ahorita porque no han ido para arriba, ya hay 5 más allá arriba.
Decades of neglect in the oil industry is causing major environmental damage. There are frequent oil spills from rusting, leaking pipelines.
Llega en todas las orillas. Y ahí no podemos salir tan porque las lanchas se ensucian. Y eso es mucha gastadera de plata para los dueños. Bueno, mire esta mandinga, esta se llena de petróleo y nosotros la lavamos con 200 litros de gasolina. Porque estaba negrita, negrita. Mira todos los huecos que se le hicieron por la gasolina que le echamos para quitar el petróleo.
Johan Flores was born in Maracaibo. He's driving our crew to another town across the lake.
Esta es la ciudad en donde comenzó el boom petrolero, pues, Cabima.
This was once a wealthy, thriving community, but not anymore.
Podemos ver sus calles completamente destruidas, no hay infraestructura de envergadura. Los servicios están de alguna manera obsoletos y siendo Cabimas esa fuente de ingresos a través del sistema petrolero para toda Venezuela, Cabima no merece estar como está en la actualidad, pues.
This once booming industry is still standing, but barely. These are bits of broken infrastructure that have been cut up to be sold off. Old pump jacks are still pulling up thick, sour crude. The type of oil Venezuela's got a lot of, but is difficult and expensive to extract. But this is just a trickle of what once made this region a powerhouse.
Stretching along the eastern shore of Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela is one of the industrial wonders of modern times. One of the largest known oil deposits in the world, this resource has brought a new life to the people of Venezuela.
The 1950s were Venezuela's heyday. Foreign companies basically ran the oil industry. The state got a share of the profits, and the economy boomed.
This is the new Venezuela, being built with its own revenue from petroleum.
It became one of the richest countries in the world. But in 1976, the dominance of foreign companies ended. The oil industry was nationalized, and a new state company, PDVSA, took control from the foreign oil companies. In 1999, Hugo Chavez became president. He redirected PDVSA's profits and the country's oil wealth to fund his socialist revolution. And he fired staff who complained the company was being politicized, some on live TV. After mass protests and a strike by PDVSA staff, Chavez ended up sacking around 18,000 employees. In 2007, foreign oil companies were forced to accept new contracts that gave PDVSA even more control. Companies that refused were forced to go, losing billions in oil assets.
Más nunca entregaremos esta nuestra riqueza, esta nuestra patria, al imperio norteamericano.
After Chavez's death in 2013, his successor, Nicolás Maduro, continued his legacy. Decades of mismanagement and corruption, and more recently, U.S. sanctions, left the country's oil industry in ruins. During Maduro's rule, more than 18,000 people were detained arbitrarily, including PDVSA workers, journalists, and politicians. To make sense of what's going on now, I'm meeting Chris Sabatini, a Latin America expert at the London think tank Chatham House.
What do you think the U.S.'s real intentions are here? Before Maduro was captured, Trump said getting involved in Venezuela was all about stopping these drug routes. After Maduro was captured, the discourse very quickly became about Venezuelan oil.
Frankly, the narrative has zigged and zagged on this. The first is the domestic considerations for Donald Trump. He had run in 2024 in the campaign for presidency, for his re-election, basically spreading a number of untruths about Venezuela. He claimed that Nicolás Maduro, then president, had emptied his prisons and mental institutions to flood the United States with criminals. And this was a very MAGA-based message. It was intended to appeal to his domestic base. By December, Donald Trump was saying that Nicolás Maduro had to go. You had about 14% of U.S. naval assets positioned off the coast of Venezuela. When the military buildup started, he needed an excuse to show a sign of force. Part of that was because also the hope was the military would defect and try to provoke a rather easy transition by removing Maduro for Trump. When that didn't happen, it became necessary to go in and remove Maduro himself.
A week after Maduro's arrest, President Trump summoned American oil executives to the White House.
Today, I'm delighted to welcome almost 24 of the biggest and most respected oil and gas executives in the world to the White House. It's an honor to be with them.
These are the people he wants to foot the bill for the repair of Venezuela's oil industry.
The plan is for them to spend at least $100 billion to rebuild the capacity and the infrastructure necessary. Venezuela has also agreed that the United States will immediately begin refining and selling up to 50 million barrels of Venezuelan crude oil, which will continue indefinitely. We're all set to do it.
There was some enthusiasm from the founder of Continental Resources.
Certainly, our industry knows that this is a real jewel that can be developed for the people.
But not everyone was convinced. ExxonMobil was one of the companies pushed out of Venezuela under Chavez.
We've had our assets seized there twice, and so you can imagine to re-enter a third time would require some pretty significant changes. If we look at the legal and commercial constructs and frameworks in place today in Venezuela, today it's uninvestable.
Sandra, let's talk when you can, please. Just FYI, the National Assembly just approved changes on the oil law. This is the law Chavez brought in that gave the state all the control over the oil industry. And let me tell you, Delcy is basically undoing it. foreign companies will be allowed to operate here much more freely, and they won't have to partner with PDVSA. So we are basically going back to the days before Chavez. Just let me know when you can talk, okay? Bye.
Among those still loyal to Maduro and Chavez, there's mixed feelings. In Maracaibo, unionists from the oil industry are gathering for their weekly meeting. There's a lot to discuss. They start by watching a video of the U.S. Energy Secretary touring a Venezuelan oil field with Delcy Rodriguez. He's the highest-level U.S. energy official to visit the country in decades. Some don't want to believe there's been a huge departure from the regime's socialist policies.
Están ahorita en un proceso de diálogo y que en eso está participando muy exitosamente nuestra presidenta encargada, Delcy Rodríguez.
Others are wary of oil workers being exploited.
Hablan de la inversión, pero no hablan del recurso humano como tal. Este país es rico. Nosotros lo que exigimos es que esas riquezas sean repartidas equitativamente a todo el pueblo venezolano.
Across town, it's game day. There are carnival celebrations and a pageant. Boys practice baseball, Venezuela's national sport, another relic of American influence. Girls play a different version, called kickball. Mothers on the sidelines are hopeful things will improve, but are waiting to see how it all plays out.
El petróleo está aquí, en Venezuela, pero uno casi no lo ve, porque se beneficia el gobierno, otras personas. Pero si de verdad lo utilizaran más aquí, nos ayudara en mejorar los hospitales, educación, pero bueno, esperemos que todo mejore poco a poco.
Verdad que como madre actualmente estoy con mucha expectativa de ver qué se va a desarrollar, porque desde que nacemos nos hablan de lo ricos que somos porque tenemos mucho petróleo, pero nos falta muchísimo desarrollo también para poderlo explotar debidamente.
Back in London, I'm told there's a Venezuelan oil analyst in town, someone who used to work for PDVSA and now specializes in the region's crude market. His name is Gus Vasquez.
So Venezuela's interim president, Delcy Rodriguez, recently said, we need to move on from just being the country with the biggest reserves on the planet to becoming a giant oil producer. How likely is that?
To be clear, Venezuela can be a big producer, but not at those levels. We peaked at 3.5 million barrels per day. The U.S. is doing 13, Russia, Saudis are doing 10. It's next level. We can be a big producer, but even to get to that 3.5, that's gonna take a lot of investment.
So, Gus, you're usually based in the U.S. What is the appetite among the big American oil majors to invest billions of dollars in Venezuela right now?
So right now, nobody's having that conversation. I think short term, there's quick wins, and people will go for those, and you will see that. But longer term, that's a different conversation. There's political risk on the Venezuela side, but also on the U.S. side. Because right now, all you have is a license from the administration that says you're free to trade oil. But, you know, it's just a piece of paper signed by the administration. So if the next administration comes in and decides, hey, things in Venezuela haven't changed enough for our liking, you can revoke that piece of paper and your business could go away again.
When Hugo Chavez nationalized foreign-controlled oil assets in the early 2000s. It meant huge losses for foreign oil companies. How much is there a fear of that happening again under Delcy Rodriguez?
You know, you get burnt once, you're going to be more careful the second time around. So, yes, I think for there to be a return to all this foreign investment, I mean, you're going to need more change than just getting rid of Maduro. It's going to have to be broader than that.
While the world weighs up Venezuela's long-term oil potential, some very real changes are already happening on the ground. Changes that would have been unthinkable just a few months ago.
Hi, everyone. I'm sorry. Yes, I just read what could possibly be the amnesty law.
Our local producer, Ana, has seen the draft of a new law, which could free hundreds of political prisoners.
But after so many horrors I've seen and reported over so many years, just thinking about a glimpse of normality and peace, it's unbelievable, yeah.
Outside a police detention center in Caracas, mothers and daughters are camping out, waiting to see if their loved ones will be released.
Todavía nada, no me han dicho nada, mamá.
Last year, authorities arrested Fanny's whole family, including her 2 young boys.
Nada, nada de nada.
They were all let go, except her daughter.
Es un dolor demasiado grande lo que yo siento, yo. Demasiado grande. Y todavía no se me ha calmado ese dolor.
No, solo se calma.
Y pasarán muchos años.
Mucho.
Pero tengo que tener a mi hija al lado para ser fuerte.
People are slowly being released, but hundreds are still behind bars.
Al nosotros ver eso, que esos portones se abran y salgan todas esas criaturas, sí se está cumpliendo la ley. No es solamente mi hija, hay muchos presos políticos. Y esto puede ser algo para que los ayude ahí. Lo que ahorita la señora Delcy anunció sobre la ley de amnistía. Y gracias al señor Donald Trump.
Visualicemos la salida, pero sobre todo...
At the city's most notorious prison, El Helicoide, more families wait through the dark.
En el lugar que sea, en cualquier cárcel, hasta en una de oro, pero preso, es preso. Dentro de los venezolanos, esos muchos millones están afuera.
¿Cómo te sientes? ¿Cómo te sientes ahorita? Emocionada. Emocionada aún cuando no sé de mi hermano. Pero tengo la ilusión y la gran esperanza que él está bien en medio de todo, porque sé que ningún ser humano puede estar bien estando tras las rejas.
Things are changing, but there's still a backdrop of uncertainty, including for our team on the ground.
Hey, Anna, hey. Thanks so much for that interview. I've just seen that a journalist has just been arrested working for German media. What have you heard?
Apparently, he was taken from his home, but he was released hours later. So what I really think is that this is them trying to show that they still have some power over what you report.
Right.
Over the past 17 years, I've seen it all. And this is their way of communicating with journalists.
Right. Are you going home now, Anna? I feel like maybe that might be a good idea.
Yeah, and then we can start tomorrow again.
Yeah,
Brand new day, less tense, and see how it goes.
Okay, let's take things step by step. Thank you so much. Take care, okay?
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Gracias. Ciao. People thought the U.S.'s capture of Maduro was head-spinning. Then came Iran. America's attack on another major oil producer is raising new questions. With oil supplies under pressure because of the conflict in the Middle East, could Venezuelan crude suddenly become way more important?
I'm here to speak with Neil Quilliam.
Hi, great to meet you. Good to meet you too.
He's a strategist who specializes in energy policy and geopolitics.
What is happening in the global oil markets right now?
Right now, the Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed. The world is missing a fifth of its LNG exports and a fifth of its crude exports. It can't get out into the markets.
And with all of this volatility and Venezuela entering the global oil market, could it potentially step in and relieve things?
The Venezuelan exports are negligible, so that it's not going to make a big difference. There are very few options to compensate for such a huge loss of oil and gas.
I'm hoping you can paint a bigger picture for me, because I'm watching what Israel and the U.S. are doing, pushing regime change in Iran, which is a major oil producer. Just a few months ago, Trump took out Venezuela's president and is now controlling its oil industry. Is there a bigger strategy here about controlling global oil?
No, I don't think so. I mean, oil is important, certainly to Trump, but the issue here is much broader, much bigger. And I think a lot of it actually comes down to Trump himself. And I think it's his desire to be seen as this consequential president in U.S. history and to be seen as a world leader by making this change, effecting this change in Venezuela, by getting Hamas and Israel to sign a ceasefire. And in Iran, he wants to be known as the president that got rid of Khamenei. And if he can get American companies operating and being successful in Iran, that's a big win for him.
And that's what he's selling in Venezuela as well.
Absolutely.
There's another common thread here, and that's China. China was the biggest buyer of both Venezuelan and Iranian crude. How much of this is about cutting China's oil supplies?
I don't think it's about cutting China off from oil supplies. Venezuela provided 5% of China's total crude imports beforehand. Iran provides about 12 to 14% of China's total crude imports. So I don't think China is sort of at the heart of this policy. The much bigger thing at play here is Trump and his legacy.
Back in Caracas, the government has organized an event for Youth Day.
Hey, Sandra. Well, I'm here at the demonstration. You know, you have some people on the streets, most of them public workers working for ministries and the police, young people.
Estamos luchando por nuestra patria, por nuestra soberanía, porque devuelvan a nuestro presidente Nicolás Maduro.
There are displays of loyalty to Maduro, but there are also signs that the regime has been weakened.
I was expecting more people, to be honest. The support for Maduro is just maybe dissipating.
Amongst the crowd is the country's interior minister, who has close links to the military and is one of the regime's most hardline members.
A la calle, a la batalla y a la victoria. ¡Que viva la patria!
His name is Diosdado Cabello.
La ley de amnistía tiene condiciones, tiene límites.
Yeah, just listen to Diosdado. He's not totally happy with the release of political prisoners, but he's not really putting up a fight. I think a lot of people assumed that he would. But don't forget, this is a man wanted by the U.S. on charges similar to Maduro's. So he has to cooperate with Delcy in Washington. It really is so strange to see people in the government and their supporters who've all been so anti-U.S. for so long, going along with all of this, for now at least.
On the other side of the city, students have staged a protest. It's the first major anti-government demonstration in almost 2 years. They're joined by opposition supporters, journalists, and families of detainees. And they're out in their thousands. They want justice, freedom, and a real democracy.
No es posible que en pleno siglo XXI, por expresarte libremente, por querer hacer un reportaje, te hayan llevado a la cárcel. Casi 4 años, casi pierdo la vida. Se me fue mi mamá, se me fue el amor de mi vida, y esto tiene que ser un precedente para que no ocurra más.
Hola, Ana, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, hola, bien.
Are you at the student protest? How's it going?
I am. Yeah, it's been something, I have to tell you. So many young people taking to the streets and being empowered again. And, you know, for starters, they now see that they can protest without the National Guard shooting at them. When you've been in the shadows for so long, any glimpse of light, it's just like sunlight in your eyes.
Y hoy tenemos la responsabilidad histórica de todas esas generaciones de estudiantes, de todas esas generaciones de jóvenes. Hoy es nuestro momento.
This is just phase 1, and we have a very long way to go. But it's been amazing, you know, to feel the streets like this again.
Tengo esperanza. Tengo esperanza de que esto puede ser distinto. Y ya no tengo miedo.